This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey, you darn dirty no-gooders. This is NWA Superstar and the prettiest girl in any room, the lovely Pollo Del Mar. And you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show where it's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and CastBox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with Pollo Del Mar!
Very good, James. I loved it. Very enthusiastic. Hi, everybody. It's Pollo Del Mar, and I am very excited to be talking with Wrestling with Entertainment today before my big weekend of Mania events down in Los Angeles. James, you know that there's going to be wrestling fans from everywhere flooding down to LA, and I've got big events. On the 29th, I'll be at WrestleCon, and then actually, on the 31st, I'll be at WrestleCon. And then after that, it's Big Gay Brunch for Effie. And on the 1st, WrestleMania, which is with Mickey James, SoCal Val, Lisa Marie, and Mick Foley on that evening at 9 p.m. on April 1st. And, of course, I'll be screening the debut in LA of Out in the Ring on April 2nd. A big, big weekend for me.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly sounds that way.
It is. It's exciting. It's an exciting time.
And of course, to know where everything is, where can we find you on social media?
For sure. It's easy to find me on Twitter. I'm the Glamazon PDM, as in Pollo Del Mar, the Glamazon PDM, and then Pollo Del Mar Fans. POLLODELMARFANS on pretty much everything else.
And merchandise?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
You have merchandise.
I do. I have Pollo Del Mar t-shirts, and I will be ordering some new stuff actually to be debuting down in Los Angeles, as well as the upcoming National Wrestling Alliance TV tapings and pay-per-view event in Chicago coming up on the weekend of April 7th and 8th. I'm really excited about it.
All right, and you don't have to go looking for their social media. Just all of the links will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and CastBox.
Love it.
You mentioned Effie's Big Gay Brunch. You've been a part of multiple of them. Have you actually gotten brunch or no?
I've been part of Effie's Big Gay Brunch since Big Gay Brunch 2, and we're heading into Big Gay Brunch 6, number 6 on April 1st in Los Angeles. It's, for me, those are such a family experience. That is my wrestling family, my fan base family, and I love that. One of the things that we've always gotten tremendous frustration directed towards us for is the fact that there's so seldom brunch at Effie's Big Gay Brunch. But when we were in Chicago last fall, we had a phenomenal brunch catered for everyone there, and it was available for purchase in addition to your tickets. It's not included in the ticket price. But can you believe it, James, that I was so busy as the host of the show, as well as managing my tag team, Money, Power, Respect, in the tag team gauntlet, that I didn't have a morsel of that delicious food?
Oh, missed opportunity.
For real, it was, because it looked so good.
Because I've always felt like, if it's called the Big Gay Brunch and there's no brunch, it's kind of false advertising, no?
Well, I think that the reason that it's called Big Gay Brunch is because of the timing of it. We serve up all of our action at brunch time.
Right.
Whereas most of the shows are going to be evening time shows during those collective weekends where there are tons of shows running every evening. Effie's Big Gay Brunch starts at 11 a.m. So for us, it's brunch time, whether there's brunch served or not. So I think the other part of it is it's just a kitschy way to play with the concept and the stereotype that gays just love brunch.
All right. Well, you also work for the NWA. Can you tell us about your relationship with the company and Billy Corgan?
Yes, I am so delighted, James, to be part of the National Wrestling Alliance. And I tell people this all the time, and I think that so many of the individuals who hear it might think that it's just something that an individual would say because they're employed by a company, but I grew up wanting to work for the National Wrestling Alliance. That's the truth of the matter. I have openly pursued my relationship with NWA, and I came into the company through Mickey James for the Empower broadcast in 2020, and then 2021, and then over the course of the next 18 months built my own relationship with Billy Corgan, with the National Wrestling Alliance, and was just really honored to be part of such a rich and ongoing history of professional wrestling as represented by the NWA. Specifically to the question of my relationship with Billy Corgan, Billy is really passionate about the National Wrestling Alliance. He's passionate about its legacy and what it has represented since the 1940s. And that, to me, makes me a real big fan of Billy Corgan, because I, too, am very passionate about that ongoing and continuous legacy of the National Wrestling Alliance. In terms of what it's like to work with Billy, it's a very interesting experience, because Billy Corgan, I would go out on a limb and say, I consider him a creative genius. Specifically in the world of music, this is an individual who had a vision for what he wanted his musical sound to be like many, many years ago, and fought tooth and nail with people in a corporate structure who told him that that may not be marketable, or that wouldn't be what's popular in that day and age. And he said to them, well, that's fine, but this is what I want to make. This is my vision. And it turned out that Billy was quite obviously correct. He's a multi-platinum selling artist and still a world-renowned rock star to this day, touring, just finishing a big tour in Mexico City, and is getting ready to head to Australia soon for a headlining tour as well. So he's somebody who is very set in what he believes in artistically. And so I think that there are times when, if you're another artistic person with a different vision, maybe that could prove really frustrating, because Billy's like, no, that's not what we want here, and that's not what I'm foreseeing. But for me, I've felt really blessed, because Billy has given me an opportunity. And I think one of the things that I love the most about Billy is that Billy does just sort of throw you out there to sink or swim. He gives you a general idea, and if you can hit the ball out of the park, then it's going to bear very well for you. And when Silas and I made our debut in the National Wrestling Alliance, I don't think anyone would have expected the thrill Billy, Silas Mason, and his partnership with the lovely Pollo Del Mar to become quite what I think it has become, and or specifically where I think it will go in the future. He gave us an opportunity, we hit it out of the park, and now things are boding very well for us in the National Wrestling Alliance.
Are you currently contracted by NWA?
I am not under contract with NWA. Silas is under contract. There are many people who are contracted to NWA. I would love to be contracted to NWA. I think that one of the things that might not bode so well for me in gaining that contract is how openly I discuss that I'm not really that interested in going anywhere else. So, if you are teasing that you might want to be someplace else, they might want to lock you under contract. For me, there are probably a lot of factors that play into that. I think I'm a very specific character that other places probably wouldn't present very well or would not be open to presenting. The National Wrestling Alliance and Billy Corgan have given me that opportunity. I would love to be contracted to NWA, but with or without a contract, the National Wrestling Alliance always has my first right of refusal, meaning if somebody reaches out to me about a wrestling booking, and my schedule is completely full, James, I will be bluntly honest with you, I barely have any dates available to book until July probably. And if somebody wants me for a show, I tell them outright, if I'm able to do this, it will be exclusively because I'm not pre-engaged with NWA. So anything NWA wants, they get first, and then everybody else gets the scraps.
Okay, and Billy Corgan, if you're listening, sign Pollo. I mean, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about what a historic moment that would be. Somebody like myself being contracted to the National Wrestling Alliance. I am excited about the possibility, even if it doesn't really truly exist, just because that for me is my ultimate dream.
Now, as you mentioned, you're currently managing Silas Mason. Can you tell us your relationship with him?
My relationship with Silas Mason is a very deep and emotional connection, and it extends well beyond the world of professional wrestling. I am overjoyed to accompany him to ringside at every potential opportunity. And Silas Mason, the Thrill Billy, is taking bookings across the country right now. People have the opportunity to jump on the beginning of a bandwagon because I see huge things in the future of Silas. But we also are, in my estimation, two of each other's greatest cheerleaders. We both want the other to succeed, and we recognize that right now we are something so incredibly special in the world of professional wrestling. Our relationship, I think, connects with audiences because they are able to perceive when something is pretty organic. Initially, we were not an organic combination, but the chemistry between us is so real. The chemistry comes across on screen. It comes across in our promos and our interactions with audiences. People see that and they feel it. And I think that we could not manufacture that with somebody else. So I'm very, very proud of that relationship, other than what people see on the surface and may be intimated on National Wrestling Alliance broadcasts. I'm not going to go into it, but I will tell you that anytime Silas Mason needs something, if I'm able to accommodate, that man will always have priority for me. He is very, very talented and a very good person.
Seeing you two together for the first time, definitely aesthetically interesting. And, it being, on paper, maybe it shouldn't work, but seeing you two together and how you interact, it works 100%. And, obviously, you are garnering a response from the crowd as well. What do you what do you attribute that chemistry with Silas, from the very beginning?
First thing, I want to ask you a question. Was it jarring to you when you saw us walk out? Like Silas walks through the curtain first when we made our debut at in Knoxville. Silas walks out, and the audience is expecting him to, be with a certain kind of person, perhaps, or be a certain presentation. And then I walked out behind him. Did your jaw drop, James?
No, my jaw didn't drop, but I kind of tilted my head and said, that's interesting.
Right. So I think that there's so many things I could probably attribute to the kind of chemistry that we have. One of the things I think really plays a factor in it is that, for the most part, neither of us is playing a character that isn't inherently part of who we are. We're not being asked to give the audience something that isn't real or isn't true or isn't authentic. So for me, that is the beginning of the resonation, what makes us resonate with fans. Because Silas isn't, the Thrillbilly is not Silas's gimmick. That's Silas. And Silas is an over-the-top, larger-than-life individual physically, as well as his personality. He is pretty much exactly what you see on screen. And that is something that is able to resonate because it's real. And people can usually sniff out things that are not authentic or real. The other part of the chemistry that we have is that you might be able to tell, obviously, that I don't have that deep accent that I use on NWA, but I grew up around and surrounded and immersed in the culture of what I present on NWA television. Honest to God, as a child, I grew up idolizing women around me who looked and acted just like Pollo Del Mar, the lovely Pollo Del Mar in National Wrestling Alliance. Those were women that I genuinely thought were icons. And it reminds me of this quote that I read from Dolly Parton. And Dolly Parton said that when she was a young child, she found herself drawn to basically her small town's hussy, the hussy in the small town. And she relates how she saw this woman who was unabashed and larger than life, and in her eyes glamorous, with her bleached blonde hair and her low cut, her cleavage hanging out. And she told her mom that is the prettiest woman in the whole world. And her mom said, "Dolly, that woman ain't nothing but trash." And Dolly thought to herself, "Oh my God, when I grow up, that's what I want to be. I want to be trash." And I relate to that. There was, a woman in my hometown that I grew up with, and she was everything like that, too tight of clothing, too flirty, bleached blonde hair, things just hanging out where they probably shouldn't have been. And I just thought that woman was so glamorous. And I am so pleased that in National Wrestling Alliance, I get to be that person. I get to bring that to life. I get to pay homage to these people that I believe are underappreciated sex symbols in our world.
Where did that southern twang come in your voice? Because you don't have that when you manage Money, Power, Respect.
No, I don't. That is because my belief of who Pollo Del Mar is, specifically in the National Wrestling Alliance, I have the potential to be any person on that roster's dream girl. I have the potential to morph and be a chameleon. Everything about me is an illusion, and I can be whoever's dream girl I need to be in the moment to move forward in my career. And Silas Mason, his dream girl is a trailer park Barbie doll. And I will tell you, I embraced that, honey, because that man is going to take me straight to the top of the National Wrestling Alliance, because he's the biggest man in the world, and Big Daddy Thrill and the lovely Pollo Del Mar are going to be holding NWA gold sooner rather than later. So for me, that is like I said, it's who Silas's dream girl is. And my goal and my job is to be Silas's dream girl. And with Money, Power, Respect, I have a different set of motivation because we are a different kind of union, equally organic. Marco Mayor y Fabuloso Fabricio, Money, Power, Respect, and Pollo Del Mar are the hottest commodity in tag team wrestling on the West Coast and beyond. And my goals and motivation in that relationship are very different than my goals and motivation in my relationship with Silas. So in terms of how that came about, first and foremost, part of that too is organic. I'm going to have to tell you, I grew up in Houston. I grew up in the South. And that accent, I have a lot of that inherent to me. I have a degree in broadcasting, and when I went away to college to become a broadcaster, they work you through that. They work it out of you. They effectively want to break you from having any kind of distinct accent. So I let go of a lot of my y'alls and things of that nature, but there's no possible way that somebody who comes from my background can go to Nashville, Tennessee, or Knoxville, Tennessee, or anywhere in the South and be surrounded by those beautiful Southern accents without mine returning. So part of that was just talking to Silas, you know, and then the more it came about, the more I wanted to adopt it. And if ever anybody was interested, I would tell how that voice, the inflections, all of that was influenced by a very great and potentially underappreciated Southern wrestling legend named Ron Wright. And I was watching a great deal of Ron Wright's work for Smoky Mountain Wrestling later in his career when he was a manager. And I just loved the way he sounded. I loved the kind of hilarious intonations that come with it. And as I said, all of those things just melded together in a very brief period of time to become what we see and hear on National Wrestling Alliance.
You know, I really love that answer. You know, it just makes me think, what would you transform into if Tyrus was your guy?
That's a good question. And I think that I pray that Thribilly Silas Mason and I are together for a very long time in the NWA.
Yes.
But I can tell you that one of the people who always comes to mind for me when thinking about longevity in the world of professional wrestling and the ability to adapt and morph to become whoever she needs to be is Nancy Benoit, who RIP. She was able to transform into, in my estimation, the dream girl of many different people in wrestling, and she had different personifications for each of those. And the other most iconic person to adapt and morph her character to become compatible with any talent she was paired with is the great Sherry Martel. And Sensational Sherry or Scary Sherry, Sister Sherry, doesn't matter which incarnation she was. Sherry Martel is one of my all-time idols and icons. Behind me right now, there are multiple Sherry Martel action figures. And that is because I find her to be one of the most captivating personalities in the world of professional wrestling history.
Definitely two names that don't get talked about enough in pro wrestling today.
Well, they get talked about by me all the time. You know, I think that one of the phenomenal things about being exactly who and what I am in the world of professional wrestling, by that I mean as a drag personality who is serving and offering viewers an illusion from top to bottom, I can become any character that I need to be. And I can become, you know, if I was paired up with, you may remember him. He's been gone from NWA programming for quite a while, but we had Captain Yuma with us in the National Wrestling Alliance for a while. And Captain Yuma's whole character is that he's this intergalactic star traveler. And I jokingly said that if Captain Yuma ever came back, I would love to be paired up with him as one of his alien mistresses, somebody he met in another galaxy, and I would like be entirely pink and wearing like a spacesuit and wouldn't even speak. I would just be like beep beep boo 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 boo. So, I am able to metamorphosize into whatever I need to be, and to do that, I have this wonderful and amazing catalog of iconic female entertainers, performers in the world of professional wrestling and beyond that can inspire me. Sherry Martel, Luna Vachon, Dark Journey, Missy Hyatt, Baby Doll. These are people that I grew up watching, and they are people that inspired me. And there are many more. Miss Linda, who was with Exotic Adrian Street for a number of years, Marlena, who was with Goldust. These are all people who had very defined characters, and when it came time for those individuals to break free of whatever their best known character representation was, it took a while. But for me, it, I think, can be as simple as it was for Sherry, which is I become a different person depending on who you pair me with. All I have to do is change my hair, my style, my voice, my, everything about me is easy to change because none of it is something I'm physically attached to.
Right. All right. Now, I have to ask, Pollo Del Mar, when's the last time you had chicken of the sea?
Dear God, that's a good question. I have not had. I passed a big thing of it yesterday at the grocery store. I went grocery shopping yesterday, and I thought to myself, do I want to get tuna? And I thought better of it. I don't know. I actually, my favorite way to eat tuna, believe it or not, is to mix it into macaroni and cheese. So it's something that most people wouldn't expect, but it's really quite delicious. And my mom makes it on many, many occasions. And I think probably the last time I had chicken of the sea was during a visit to my mom.
Okay. On to a controversial subject.
Oh, gosh.
Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Pineapple should not be on a pizza. There's no discussion about that.
Wow. Complete disregard for pineapple.
I love pineapple. I do not appreciate it on a pizza.
Okay. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Good God, I don't even know Pokemons. So I'm not sure what my spirit Pokemon would be. The only Pokemon I know is Pikachu, and I have an emotional connection to that because that was my niece's favorite when she was growing up. So we'll just go with Pikachu.
All right, fair enough. Now, we've been speaking of legends, and everybody knows we love the late, great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
Oh God, I do know this, but I'm blanking on it. Give me a moment. Hold on. I don't know why I'm blanking on it. I watched all of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which is when the Thugs came about.
Yes.
So I should definitely know this. In fact, Ron Wright, who I mentioned earlier, I came to be abundantly aware of because at the time of his debut with Smoky Mountain, he was managing half of the Thugs, Tony Anthony. So I do not remember what that acronym is for.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a Doug can't spell.
Oh, yes, that's correct. I do remember this now.
Yes, we love Tracy trying to keep the memory alive.
Well, I support that absolutely and wholeheartedly.
Now, you've mentioned being a chameleon of the sports of pro wrestling, but this is the weirdest question you'll ever be asked on a wrestling interview. Would you ever consider managing a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual Rock.
I would have to say that I believe so heavily in my own talent and ability to get anything over. I could get a piece of granite over.
Well, I love that enthusiasm because there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled in actual rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match, an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Where did Psycho Mike wrestle?
Oh, it was it's called Backyard Pro.
Where's that located?
They're up in Canada, but it's more like a YouTube, Saturday Night Live-esque sketch show rather than, actual wrestling.
Look, you're not gonna. You'd be hard pressed to throw me off with anything that people do in the world of professional wrestling because I'm well steeped in Hood Slam here in the Bay Area. I just did some play-by-play for several matches produced by Wrestling Pro Wrestling, Brian Kendrick's promotion down in Southern California. And the things that I saw, I called a match between the Fromage Horsemen, which is 4 various cheeses. And so shout out to Ricardo Flair, Tully Blanchard, Gorgonzola Anderson, and Parm Anderson.
Yeah, shout out to those guys. Expect email requests soon. Alright. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I would actually enjoy being on the production side of professional wrestling. My time as an active professional wrestler started much later in my life than I would have liked it to. And there's a lot of factors that led to that, but I ultimately think that everything in the world happens for a specific reason. So this is the time and place for me to live these dreams, and I'm doing that to the fullest. But in addition to being an aspiring professional wrestling personality, I've always loved the creative element of professional wrestling. So the writing element of it, the behind the scenes production of events, as well as helping people learn better promo skills. There's a lot of capacities that I could continue to work in. And I would love to pursue opportunities to do play-by-play and or color commentary, whether that is as my Pollo Del Mar character or as myself. I'm an award-winning journalist, having worked with Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Wrestling Inc., WrestleZone, many professional wrestling related websites and or media publications and outlets. But I'm also an award-winning journalist outside of that world. So I think I have a lot to offer there as well. In 5 years, we could see me behind a desk somewhere doing some pencil pushing, or we could still see me as an active participant in the world of professional wrestling at perhaps some of the highest levels. And what that would look like, I'm not sure, but it's fun to think about.
When you got into pro wrestling, Del Mar was already somebody a character you already had. Did you ever consider, just doing, your shoot stuff or come up with a new character, or was it, okay, if I'm going into wrestling, it's going to be Pollo Del Mar?
There's been a great deal of thought, even very recently, about the options and prospects of being multiple characters. And that is something that I, did a lot of speculation on. To kind of be pointed towards your initial part of that question, I've been Pollo Del Mar as a personality, a character, a recognizable member of my community for many years. And so when I first started diving back into pro wrestling, that character was already established, and in a lot of ways it seemed primed and ready to go in the world of professional wrestling. Wrestling is always a venue and opportunity for those larger than life personas and personalities and characters. And Pollo Del Mar is all of those things. I think for me, outside of that, my first thoughts many, many years ago were not to do that. I thought for certain I would be a Jim Cornette style manager at ringside. I thought that I would be presenting as myself in the world of professional wrestling, and that would be the strong suit for me, that would be the direction I would take. And for a variety of reasons, that just did not happen. So is it plausible to think that I could do a secondary character? Yes. In fact, I can tell you by the time that this airs for your listeners, I will have just returned from Joe Kazana Promotions in just outside Knoxville, Tennessee, Sweetwater, Tennessee, where Joe Kazana Promotions produces this incredible YouTube series. And you can look it up, just Joe Kazana, Kazana Promotions on YouTube, and you'll be able to see they have multiple seasons now of their broadcast. And one of the things I love about Joe Kazana Promotions is that it's current, it's running at this very moment, starring Silas Mason and AJ Kazana, Jeremiah Plunkett, many of the other stars that people would see on NWA. And it has this truly old school territory wrestling feel to it. It feels a lot like a Smoky Mountain Wrestling or a USWA or things of that nature. And the reason I mention this is because I will be going there as Pro Wrestling Illustrated journalist Paul E. Pratt, which is my legal name for anybody who has not Googled me yet. And I will be doing play-by-play and color commentary on a series of episodes for that company outside of my character, just as myself. And that is a very exciting prospect for me, because whether you're a journalist, an entertainer, a podcaster, any kind of a personality, the more opportunities that you have to find work and places to be at home, the better it is for your career.
If you do get an entrance for the Joe Kazana Promotions, come out to 9 to 5. He'll love it.
Oh, well, you know what? That song is already taken at Joe Kazana Promotions.
As far as I know, Billy changed it because he turned heel.
Oh, maybe Billy Tipton did. I call Billy Tipton Lil Billy, and that's because he doesn't love it. But I call him Lil Billy because Billy Tipton, Tennessee Sunshine, is around the National Wrestling Alliance when we're in Nashville, Knoxville, etc., quite often. And the reality of being in the National Wrestling Alliance is we already have two Billies. We have Billy Trask, who's our executive producer on all of our broadcasts. We have obviously William Patrick Corgan, Billy Corgan,
yep.
And then there's Billy Tipton. So Billy Tipton became Lil Billy to me, and I'd be like, hey, Lil Billy. Of course, we also have the Thrill Billy, which is my main Billy.
Yes. No, when we had Joe on, he was like, we turned Billy heel, but we got rid of, 9 to 5. Love Dolly, but no Dolly in my promotion anymore. No Dolly Parton.
Well, I will tell you, on my Twitch stream, which you can find me at twitch.tv/Pollo Del Mar, we stream Joe Kazana Promotions, as well as a lot of very old school territory-based wrestling, things of that nature. And my following love Billy Tipton as he is now, because I told them the Little Billy story, but they also love 9 to 5. So they're going to be devastated when we get to the point that Billy Tipton is no longer coming out to that.
Yeah, I tried to suggest him, because he's obviously turned heel now, for him to come out to Jolene. I thought that would have been a great, heel alternative, but Joe was not going for it.
He could come out to Why'd You Come In Here Looking Like That? He could come out to a variety of Dolly Parton songs. I am a big and unabashed Dolly fan, as you might have guessed by me quoting her earlier in this interview.
Oh, yeah. All right. Since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Oh, dear.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Oh, God, let's go.
Greatest wrestler of all time.
Bobby Eaton.
Worst wrestler.
Ooh, worst wrestler of all time. I do not really have a candidate for that because I don't. Oh, I do, but I don't want to say it. But
Oh, now you
I'm
gotta say it.
I'm not going to say the one that just came to mind. I'm going to say Great Khali.
Okay, fair enough. You get the book, the main event of WrestleMania. Who are the two combatants?
The main event for WrestleMania. Do I? The question that's a little vague because I need to know if we're talking about the current roster.
Anybody in history, in the world, anything.
If we're gonna go cross promotional, and I'm gonna do my WrestleMania booking, I'm gonna say that it would be Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig versus Macho Man Randy Savage for the WWF World Title.
Oh, sweet.
And Kurt would go over.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Midnight Express.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Holding on, but almost dead.
You would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Fruit.
That is correct. Tomato logic.
The seeds are internal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I think that less than half of your butt cheeks should be showing.
So like 3/4.
Sure.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No, I don't talk about Darby Allin.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
Once again, where can we find all of your social media?
All of my social media can be found. Just Google Pollo Del Mar. You're going to find a ton of things about me. You'll be able to find me on Twitter at The Glamazon PDM, Instagram and Facebook at Pollo Del Mar Fans, TikTok at Pollo Del Mar, as well as Twitch at twitch.tv/Pollo Del Mar.
And is there a website where we can buy your merchandise?
Oh my gosh, the only way to really get my merchandise is to directly message me on any of those socials that I just mentioned to you.
Okay, then you don't have to even type it into your Google machine. All of the links will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link and a new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt.
Absolutely.
Alright, of course, if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, but on YouTube and Castbox. Of course, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling with E for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, and links to those interviews. And you can follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
Okay.
For our very special guest, Pollo Del Mar, Calico Yacht, Scooter Dust, I am James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment!
And we are off.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for your time.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for your time. I know that you're, like, incredibly busy, so thank you for just sitting down and talking with me.
I always love to talk about pro wrestling, so thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Oh, absolutely, and I would love to have you on again when you, have more time.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, and if you could, again, this is coming out on the 28th, if you could just give us a retweet, that would be greatly appreciated.
Of course, I always do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I will not hold you anymore.
All right, have a beautiful day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.